that we'll be recording, because we'll be sharing this so that you can share with your colleagues or view it again after this showing. I am going to start our presentation and turn it over to Iris. 1 second. Let me reshare. I don't know what was going on with that.
Welcome, everyone. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat, and we're going to get started in just a moment. Welcome. There we go. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar. Today's webinar is on our 2024 HBCU Making the Innovation Showcase. And this is an information session for today. We're thrilled that you all joined. My name is Dr. Iris Wagstaff. I am a STEM program director at the American Association for the Advancement of Science, or the AAAS. And we actually host the showcase. It is supported by a grant from the National Science Foundation HBCU UP program. And I am honored to serve as PI on that grant. And we have the amazing Neela White, who serves as co-PI, who will be your primary source for the showcase. So I just want to share a little bit about the AAAS for those of you who might not be acclimated or oriented to the work of the AAAS. So the AAAS is the oldest and largest general scientific organization in the world. We were founded in the 1800s and have over 200,000 members worldwide. So most of us know us from our Science magazine, which is one of several journals that we have. So the mission of the AAAS is short, but it's huge, and that is to advance science, engineering, and innovation throughout the world for the benefit of all people. We accomplished this huge mission through a variety of programs and initiatives, most of which have a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those include our newest initiative, which is the STEM Opportunity Alliance that we launched with the White House a year ago. And that is really to provide a pathway to support diversity in STEM from the K-12 level all the way through to careers. We have our Entry Point program, which supports students in STEM with disabilities. We have our Sea Change initiative headed by the illustrious Dr. Shirley Malcolm, who really focuses on systemic change at the institutional level and at the departmental level with these gatekeepers in STEM, so that we affect change at those levels to better support students from diverse backgrounds. And then we just closed applications for our L'Oreal Fellowship for Women in Science, which supports women postdocs in all STEM fields. And so for more information about the AAAS as well as science careers, if you are looking for employment opportunities or other types of opportunities, feel free to check those websites out. Okay, so just a little bit of housekeeping. I see that you all are introducing yourselves in the chat. Feel free to shout out your HBCU, A&T in the house, Aggie Pride. Whoop, whoop. I will start out there. Please ensure that you are on mute, and we will be recording this, and we will be sharing the recording and the slides to all of you who registered after this meeting, so you don't have to ask about that. Feel free to post any questions you might have in the chat. We will have a Q&A session at the end, but feel free to post any questions that you have in the chat, and I will try to answer those as we go. And again, for more information about this specific initiative, our AAAS HBCU Innovation Initiative, feel free to visit our website. So I really like to acknowledge our amazing, amazing team that we have for this effort. So again, in addition to myself, we have the amazing Neela White, who serves as co-PI on this project. She is a project director at the AAAS. We also have Claire Malloy, Janice Lim, and Erica Wood. Next, I'd like to acknowledge our amazing, amazing external advisory board member. And if we have any of our advisory board members in here, if you could like wave. I saw Laura come in. So we have Brandon Andrews, Nina Archie, which is a new member, Laura Collins. Feel free to say hello also and show yourselves if you would like. Ellie Feeney, Johnny Graham, who's also a new advisory board member. And we also have Lakeisha Greenway, Dorothy Jones Davis, Joyce Ward, Ron Williams, and Chad Womack, who is another new advisory board member. So thank you to all of you serving in that role. It's been a great help, especially with this new grant that I'll talk about in just a minute. So this year's showcase will be held September the 12th to the 14th in Washington, D.C. at the Grand Hyatt, which is just down the street from the AAAS. So this is a picture from last year with our winners. We are looking forward to all of you who may wind up as finalists and get to come to D.C. So just sharing that information, please get that on your calendars. So I just want to share a little bit, like a high-level summary or overview of this new grant. So this new grant that we are in now, Strengthening an Inclusive Innovation Ecosystem through a Community of Practice, started October 1st. And what we are really focusing on with this new grant over the next 3 years is really building on, expanding, and extending the work that we started in 2018, and just really building on the prior grant that ended in December of last year. And the ways that we are building, expanding, and strengthening our efforts with this new grant is really, we're starting off with adding a second phase to this whole preparation for the HBCU Innovation Showcase. And that second phase will involve more focused training, just on the whole iterative process of really enhancing the prototypes and the innovations that the teams will come up with. So we're adding that second phase as like an extended training period, like a professional development and training opportunity, because we know innovations, they take iterations and improvements and enhancements. So that's one way that we are extending this work. We have a number of new components that we are creating, especially as part of this grant. And some of those components include a faculty training opportunity, which will be an innovation leadership institute that we are developing. We're also developing some efforts to help support on-campus capacity building. So we are developing a student ambassadorship in innovation for HBCU students to serve as a leadership role on their campus and broadly. We are also working with Microsoft. We received a grant of $350,000 in last December, and we are using some of those funds to help us inform really a planning grant to stand up a national HBCU Tech Transfer Center that we hope will support all 100 plus HBCUs. And we have also an embedded research study that we will be sending a call out to select an HBCU-led research team to help us with advancing innovation capacity on HBCU campuses. So this is just kind of a high-level overview of all the new exciting components that we have as part of this new grant, but really that will go towards the end and really strengthening this inclusive innovation ecosystem through a community of practice to support the overall goal of advancing innovation capacity on HBCU campuses.
And Iris, if I can chime in, some of these pieces, such as the Leadership Institute for Faculty, these are pieces that are not happening immediately. Again, this is a 3-year grant, so the period of this is stretched out over the course of 3 years. So some of these pieces will be implementing, at the start. However, some pieces may come later in this year, moving into year 2. So I just want our faculty members to be mindful of that.
Thank you, Neil, and be on the lookout. Like, all of this is new work, so be on the lookout for these opportunities. And we were really intentional and purposeful about creating faculty opportunities as well, in addition to student opportunities in leadership, because we feel like HBCUs should be leading this work, not just being invited to conferences or invited to speak, but we feel that HBCUs should be leading this work, right, and really framing the discussions, especially from a policy level. So Neela is definitely going to get into more of the specifics, but just a little bit about the showcase. So our 2024 showcase, which will be held in September of this year, will include a day and a half of professional development workshops. So we will have teams finalists. We're hoping to support 20 teams, so that's double the teams that we've been able to support. With this new grant, we were able to triple the funding. So we are excited about being able to support double the amount of teams. So instead of 10 teams, we're hoping to support 20 teams. So you will arrive that Thursday evening. We'll have an opening plenary. Friday will be dedicated to a full day of professional development opportunities, a faculty track as well as a student track. And then Saturday will conclude with the actual pitch. So the teams will pitch their innovations for prize money. So prior to the showcase in September, we will be launching soon our monthly e-mentoring opportunities, which is an opportunity where we, engage our expert advisory board to help these teams prepare, on a number of topics like, crowdsourcing, IP, all of those things that go into prototype development and pitching. So in those larger areas of making, innovation, invention, and entrepreneurship. So that is what will be done from within the next month or so, leading up to September. Okay, so just a little bit about the framework. So our overall framework for the showcase. So we've sent out a call to all 100 plus HBCUs to put together a team. So a team consists of 3 to 5 students and 1 faculty advisor. And the main framework, which we're carried over since our work started in 2018, is the UN Sustainable Development Goals. That is the main framework. But because we are very intentional about helping undergraduate and graduate students really leverage the STEM expertise that they are developing to address issues that they care about, issues in their local communities, and global issues. We are including additional frameworks that focus on broadening participation in STEM, as well as social justice and environmental justice. So we can show students that they don't have to wait until after they graduate, and enter the professional field, that these are issues that they can leverage the skills that they are developing now to address these issues. Okay, and so if you are chosen as one of the 20 finalist teams, that will include, we will pay for you all to come to DC. We will take care of your lodging, your travel, as well as your registration, and you will also receive a stipend card that will cover your meals and any kind of incidentals that you will receive that card as soon as you arrive, so you don't have to wait months for a reimbursement. So this is what the support includes, and then the prize money. With this new grant, we were able to increase the prize money, and also with our partnership. So the first place team will get $1,500, $1,000 for the second place team, and $500 for the third place team. Okay, and now I will turn it over to Neela, and I will hop in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Iris. And kudos to Iris for championing this effort since 2018. We have really received such great work from our HBCU faculty and their students. And we just want to continue it. We have been very fortunate to receive continued funding and the opportunities to expand and strengthen this program. We're very excited, and that is obviously thanks to the leadership of IRIS, and then also to our faculty members and students who have participated, and they continued coming back and sharing this opportunity with their students. We truly thank you. So as I get started, I'm going to go really into the application itself. We do have time for Q&A at the end, but I do encourage you, if there's any questions that you have, feel free to put them in the chat. Iris will try to respond to as many as she can throughout this duration. And if there's any that we missed or were unable to answer, we'll ensure that we answer them at the end of the, once we conclude the presentation for the Q&A session. So this is just going through what, if you all have had an opportunity to log into our application system, you have seen this, or if you've been a participant in the past, you've seen this template. We're going to go through that, and then we're just going to go through some of the, if there's questions about that and some of the new components, as Iris mentioned. So this is the PowerPoint template. So when your students select or decide that they want to be a part of this team, one team member will take the lead in completing the application. Within that application, they'll be filling out information about their teammates, their information, demographic information, information about their institution, and completing this PowerPoint template. One second. We have quite a few returning teams, and one thing we do acknowledge is that prototypes, designing solutions, inventions, these are all part of the innovation process, and that we often evolve, continue to work on our innovations. So we do encourage teams who may have submitted a prototype in the past, if they have continued working on it, if they have improved upon it, to, they can use that as their submission for the application. So this is what the template looks like. Basically, the first page will include the students putting a project title. The title does not have to be final. This just kind of is a descriptor of the project that the prototype that the students are working on. This is something that can be finalized, and we often find out that student teams, after working on their project, on their prototype, working with our mentors, often adjust their titles as they move along the process. The second page, this is where we ask for them to just list, similar to what they do in their application, but we want it all in just one PowerPoint so it's easy to access. They'll list their team members and faculty advisors. We are, as Iris said, very grateful that with increased funding, we can have increased teams. So last year we capped it at 2 teams. This year, we're adding an additional team for each institution, so there could be up to 3 teams from each institution. Being mindful, though, that we do want to have a variety of institutions attending, so we didn't want to make it unlimited. We did want to place a cap on it with hopes that we do bring on new institutions this year and beyond. Students will list their name, their year, and what they're majoring in, along with who their faculty advisor is and what department they are in. The next thing is the next slide. We are listing the UN Sustainable Development Goal or goals that the project team is addressing. As Iris mentioned, the 3 that we are centering our prototypes on for this year will revolve around quality of life, broadening participation in STEM education, and social and environmental justice. So we encourage our students to identify solutions that fall under one of these 3 categories. Oftentimes, the students have more than one. It may address both social justice and quality of life, so they can list all of the sustainable development goals that their project and prototype fall under. Here, this is just where this is more of a brief description of the UN Sustainable Development Goal that their team's innovation is addressing. So before, they're just listing that we're my project is addressing UN Sustainable Goal 1, 2, and 3. Here, they're going to be very specific on what that goal is addressing. So, for example, our project is addressing the education disparities in New Orleans post Hurricane Katrina. So the students will just be giving a more descriptor on what the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the prototype, is addressing. Now, this next slide is, as I table it, the nuts and bolts of the project. This is where the students really get into exactly what the prototype is, defining what is it? Is it a application? Is it a water filtration system? Is it a device that helps control the heat in your home? They really get into the details of the project here. They list how it's constructed, how this prototype provides a solution to the problem, and then any background research to support why they chose this problem and develop this solution. A key part that we would like for the students to speak to is identifying the audience for this project, because we spend some time during the project year with our professional development, speaking through and working with the students on pitching and communicating these prototypes to their audience. As stated before, if you're a returning team submitting a project similar to the previously accepted project, you must be able to describe how they have improved on this previous iteration of their prototype. And so let me go back, that's the template. So once the students submit that, or they work on that, they submit that template, along with the information that we are requesting. They kind of check off that they'll adhere to our codes of conduct, the requirements of the project, and then they submit the application. It's pretty simplified. We try not to do too much and ask too many questions of the students to make it easy for them to submit. We don't want them to put in, too much effort just to submit an application, because that effort and work is going to come during the period after they are selected, when they're really working on their prototypes. I'm going to go through the timeline so that you all can see, what we're working with. These dates are all, except for September 12th through 14th, may be adjusted, just because we are understanding of the schedules, not only of you all as faculty and staff members, but also as us at AAAS, of our capacity. So we know that, students have test schedules, finals, faculty members have a lot that they're working on. So we try to be mindful of that and adjust the timing to work with the students, with the faculty members. But this is approximate with the dates, and we'll keep these dates within a week. We are not going to adjust it 2-3 weeks. It'll just be within a week time frame if there's any adjustments. So the application opened. It actually opened on February 29th, and we are hosting now our application webinar. We have already extended, or not already extended, but we've adjusted the deadline so that the application deadline is Friday, March 29th at 11:59 p.m. We normally don't have to, follow up like it's 11:58. Are you submitting, your application? Most of our teams are pretty good at being able to get that in, but we do send out reminders periodically. And once you start to submit your application, we will send reminders out to the team if their application is not complete. We will be notifying teams of their acceptance the following Friday, which is April 5th. At that time, students will receive an acceptance letter stating that they are joining us for the 2024 cohort. Teams that are not selected will also receive a declination letter at that time. Friday, April 12th is the deadline for teams to confirm participation in the showcase. When teams are notified of their acceptance, they will receive guidelines of what is required to participate in the showcase. Iris kind of went over these, but we are, really affirming the importance of attendance in our professional development series, our e-mentoring, meeting the deadlines and goals that are required for this project. So it's up to the team to make sure, you have everybody who wants to be on board. If there was a member who realizes their schedule won't permit it, that's the time frame that week to decide who are the final team members and to confirm their participation. Beginning that Friday through the following Friday, The individual participants will be able to register. That includes all team members and their faculty advisor. Once you receive the confirmations on Friday, we'll be sending out notices of how for each individuals can register for the showcase. So again, our initial application, there's one team member registering. Following April 12th, when we have received all of the confirmation from all of our teams, then they will begin the individual registration process. The week of April 22nd, which would be the following week, this is new, but we will have an orientation for our student teams and faculty advisors. What we want to do here is not take up too much time, but approximately an hour, where we will go through what to expect for their showcase year. That way, everything is outlined, not just with emails. We've done that in the past, but we want to make sure, it gives the opportunity for the students to all introduce themselves, become familiar with some of the other teams, their projects, have a face to the name so that they're working with myself, with Iris, or other members of the team. They know who we are, but it lays out, once again, the foundation and the guidelines and expectations of what the students should expect for the project year. The rest of the timeline goes through, we ask students to participate in video pitch submissions. They'll have to make their travel reservations. We'll be adding social media pitches this year because obviously a lot of times we are marketing on social media. So that will be a new component that we'll briefly discuss today. And then the deadlines for all of that. All of that will conclude prior to their attendance at the showcase in DC, September 12th through 14th. So again, this is just a rundown of the timeline. You will see this timeline often. We'll share as the dates, as we move forward, as we progress, you'll be seeing these dates and we'll be sharing them throughout this entire process with both the student teams and the faculty advisors. This is just a brief period. I'm just going to go through very briefly kind of what these periods look like for the student teams. So the implementation period, this is immediately after the teams are selected. They will be required to attend this 1-hour orientation that will be recorded. Teams will be required to attend the bi-monthly e-mentoring lunch and learns, as well as the bi-monthly webinar series in which, as Iris mentioned, we'll be providing professional development on different topics as it relates to the projects and how they pitch their prototypes. As mentioned before, in spring, teams will be submitting their pitch videos, and mentors will be providing feedback on these videos, both their pitch video and their social media marketing posts. We will be working very closely with previous mentors who have committed to wanting to support our teams again, as well as reaching out to new mentors, both in industry and federal agency and academia, to really provide one thing we found is that, the students, the faculty advisors really appreciated the feedback that they received from the experts in these fields. So we'll be working with them and identifying new mentors as well that will support the students throughout this process. And then obviously, Iris went through this again, but during the showcase, Thursday, September 12th, we'll have an in-person orientation and opening. The orientation will just go through what the actual showcase event in DC will look like. And then we'll host our opening plenary. Friday, we will be holding our student and faculty workshops, professional development, and our faculty evaluation groups. Saturday, we culminate with the showcase pitch competition. The students will participate in their evaluation focus groups, and we will conclude with the awards luncheon. So I want to pause before we get into some of the components that stayed the same and what are new, and just check if there are any questions that anyone has. So the good thing is a lot of this, the application itself is very similar to what we've done in the past. This has been a process that we've found successful. It has worked. It has produced some great quality from our student team. So we didn't want to rock the boat too much in adding and implementing new ideas and new structures in place. And we're excited to see what innovations that our student teams will come up with. Since I do not see any hands or any questions in the chat, I'm going to move forward to what components have stayed the same as the previous showcase. So our e-mentoring, as I mentioned before, this is probably where we found the most value of our external relationships, whether it is our advisory board members, people who are in the innovation, invention, making, and entrepreneurship community. The student teams who participated in the e-mentoring by far were much more successful when it came to pitching their product, describing their prototype, working on iterations of their projects than we found with student teams who did not participate. This is a mandatory session that we will be holding. Last year, during the last our last iteration, we did our best to make it mandatory, and we do understand student schedules. However, the value of what these e-mentoring sessions have provided and the output, literally what we are seeing when these students present, it's by far one of the strongest pieces that our students are able to have as guidance, as advice for this. So this will be a mandatory session that students will need to participate in. Again, they will be not bi-monthly, but bi-monthly. We attempt to have them around lunchtime so that students can just pop in, work with the mentors, ask questions. They will be offered via Zoom. And again, it's mandatory for team members to participate. Again, the same with the professional development. Much of the professional development we offer centers around topics that pertain to beyond just the pitch, but what makes a successful innovator? What makes someone who's looking to come from an HBCU really succeed in taking on invention, innovation as a career? We want to make sure that we're providing all of these opportunities to our students and faculty. And our advisory board members have suggested wonderful topics for this year that we're excited to share with you all. So we will be working with our advisory committee, and again with external experts who are going to prepare professional development series for the students. We will likely have 4 sessions prior to the September showcase, along with the bi-monthly e-mentoring for our students. But we are very excited for the professional development. For the PD, we would like to have at least 1 member of the team participate in that, but we will be sharing the recordings for that for all students. And the expectation is that all students are to view the professional development series. And if you aren't able to attend in person, they will have to provide some sort of write-up or something to show that they have, we might do mini quizzes or something to show that the students have received the PD and are learning from it. For faculty, we'll be doing bi-monthly professional development for faculty advisors. This is something we feel very strongly about. This will lead into our Faculty Leadership Institute that we are planning for next year. The faculty sessions will be bi-monthly as well. And we are, truly encourage our faculty members to participate in these. We will be receiving feedback as to what topics faculty are really interested in. I know many of our faculty members may not have a true background in invention or innovation and may want to learn more. So we want to be able to support the learning that the faculty members can receive as well. What are the new components of the showcase? And so Iris went over quite a few components, quite a few pieces that we are adding on. I want to, just for sake of time and given that these are the things that you will see in this upcoming project year to share with you. So I want to go over those pieces. And the one I believe that we are most excited about is that we are now doing 2-year cohorts. What this looks like, from the feedback that we've received, not only from students, from supporters of the project who've been involved in it, from our advisory committee, we find that we bring the students in, we provide this year of professional development, these workshops. They create these amazing prototypes. and then what's next? We don't know what's next. And so we want to provide the what's next for them. So with this 2-year cohort, the first year involves the students working on their prototype ideation. This is when they begin the exploration, the ideation, the evaluation and design of the prototypes. That all culminates with the showcase pitch competition, in which the students will be coming to DC to pitch their ideas. Part 2, which we're very excited about, this is where we begin the conversation about tech transfer, product commercialization, integration. What happens next? This newly proposed second stage will teach students, after you've designed this prototype, what are the next steps? What if we really find that this is something that's marketable, that we want to, commercialize? What steps will that take? So we are very fortunate, as you know, we have in our last showcase in 2022, VentureWell served as sponsors. They also serve as a valuable resource as they have a competition known as E-Teams. We are in this planning stages of this, obviously, since we have next year. But the idea is that VentureWell will come in to really support the students, to have them move this prototype, their idea, in support of an application to their E-Teams project. And in that E-Teams project, it will be very heavy in learning the commercialization and marketing of their prototype that they will receive. So we're very excited about this. We'll also be working again with members of our advisory committee who are involved in this phase of the project of what the students are learning to support that work. But it will really be driven into getting these the student teams into this E-Teams project with VentureWell. So we are very excited about that. I want to, though, however, be very clear that the student teams will not be participating in the 2025 showcase in the form of delivering their pitches or anything like that. We may bring them back in a role where they can talk about what has happened, where they've advanced it, but they are participating in the 2024 showcase and then moving on to phase 2. In 2025, a new team will have a new cohort that will serve from 2025 to 2026. So again, the student teams that will be selected this year will serve in the cohort for 2024 and 2025. And then in 2025, we'll have a new cohort where student teams are selected to serve for 2025 and 2026. Is there any questions? I see Dr. Whittington's off mute. Do you have any questions?
So what's going to be the selection process for the second cohort? The same thing as the first?
The same thing as the first. Yeah, the process wouldn't change for the second cohort. Because we have the period of 2 years that are allowed for each team. So 2024, they'll be selected this year, they'll participate. And then in 2025, they'll be moving on to stage 2. February of 2025, we'll start this process all over again for that second cohort for 2025 and 2026. I hope that answers your question. If not, feel free to, follow up during the Q&A section. We're happy to talk through this a little bit more. Okay, I'm gonna move forward. Go ahead. Okay.
No, I said it does. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Excuse me, I had a question.
Hi, Dr. Latson.
I'm sorry, that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just wondering if okay, I have an answer. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. And thank you, Iris, if you're in the chat responding, because I don't see it right now. And then the other component, the new component that I would like to share, because this will be implemented this year, is our student ambassadorship. This came from the idea of, I'm not the most social media savvy. Many of our colleagues aren't, but we know that students have a way to be the voice on their campus. We disseminate our resources, we share, but truly the people who have the voice of their community, of their campus, are the students and faculty that are on their campus. So the student ambassadorship that we are implementing is new for 2024. We will have this for all 3 years of the showcase. or of this project year. It's open to alumni of the showcase. So again, many of my faculty members on here have been past advisors for showcases beginning in 2018 to present. So we will be in contact with them to identify alumni who may be interested in this opportunity. What they'll be doing is kind of just as an extension of our staff, they will be disseminating the professional development sessions. The PD sessions, I would also like to share, that is open to all HBCU students and faculty. It is not just for the cohort. The cohort specifically gets the e-mentoring and coaching that is specific just to them. However, the professional development sessions, because these are topics that I'm sure students beyond those who are selected would be interested in, are open to all. So we will use our student ambassadors to kind of spread the message and disseminate that information, or if there's any resources and opportunities that are presented to us through our advisory board or through our supporters and stakeholders, we will be asking our student ambassadors to share that. And this is where we really thought this idea of having our student ambassadorship would be really cool, is having them serve as content creators on social media for the program. So again, this is not my lane. I am not good at creating these videos, or, Iris and I joke about it. We know we can post on LinkedIn, but really the students that we see, we see a lot of these man on the street interviews, or students that create content that go viral. We want to use our ambassadors to do the same thing, in support of innovation, in support of invention, in support of HBCU STEM talent. We would work with them, have meetings to kind of talk about some of the campaigns we're interested in. We would like to hear from them. What is it that, if you were a student who was interested in either being a part of this community of practice, working, being a student team, or being a part of the cohort, or if this is just an area of interest, how could we share that message on social media? So we will be looking and seeking those student ambassadors to kind of play that role for us. Another thing that we are talking through is how students, past alumni students, these student ambassadors, can also serve as role as peer mentors and perhaps even judges for the program. And I think that there's ways to do this in a virtual setting with our student ambassadorship. So we're excited to get that kicked off. We'll probably be moving forward with that around May when we start that, but we will be sure to be working with our faculty advisors to identify students who may be interested in this process. And now I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to pause sharing my screen to see if there are any any questions from our audience.
Neela, I had two quick things before I leave. So you had mentioned VentureWell, who is one of our partners. So VentureWell also, we have connected our past cohorts and our future cohorts. We will be connecting with VentureWell regarding their micro grants for faculty. So they have faculty grants from 10 to 20K. So that is another resource and opportunity. A big part of our partnership with VentureWell is to then share these opportunities with HBCU faculty for these micro grants or seeding grants to help kick off their efforts or support their efforts. One thing I wanted to mention is I would be remiss. I neglected to mention a key part of our team, and that is our amazing external evaluation team of Dr. Kavita Vitale of MN Associates, Nina De La Salas, and Debbie Goomboard. Kavita was the first one on this webinar, and so I neglected to acknowledge her and her team. So if she's on, we consider our evaluation team a key and integral part of our team. So I neglected to show her photo and her team's photo, but if she's on, if she could just wave, my apologies. Yeah, and then just one other thing I wanted to mention of the student ambassadorship. Again, what Neela said, one of our many new components of this new grant is that we are focused on a community of practice, right? So our community of practice, we don't consider just to be the experts or the professionals, the students are a key part of this community of practice because we feel like they have expertise to share, as Neela said, in a peer mentoring role. So these students, the current students, the future students, the past students that have participated are a key part of this growing inclusive innovation community of practice. So we see a key role for these students to play, whether it's sharing, as Neela mentioned, their efforts and their progress in that second year that we are adding, whether it's just to kind of help groom and mentor the current cohorts and just really share their knowledge and expertise, what worked well, what didn't work well. So we do see the students as a key part of this community of practice. That's all I wanted to mention.
I want to just chime in, Iris, to plus one that I think we both have benefited from having returning students come back to the showcase, which speaks to the impact of the work that we're doing, which speaks to how meaningful this has been for them. And the students, and I'm sure Kavita can speak to this, have provided such valuable feedback for this program. So we felt it was only right to have them embedded some way, the alumni, to really just highlight and thank them for what they are currently doing, whether it's with the current prototype that they're working on, having them speak to their fellow students, their fellow colleagues with this. And I think too, as Iris mentioned, the leadership component, I think learning from these experts, it does give them an eye to say, okay, when I went through this process, this is kind of what I found the judges look for when we pitched, or what our prototype was about. So to allow them the opportunity to sit in that seat and to be able to say, you know what, I'm now a judge, and to be able to provide feedback and support to this new cohort, I think is something that would be invaluable. And again, it's a fantastic leadership opportunity for our student alumni. And it's a way, again, as Iris said, to continue this community of practice, to really engage and build them up to kind of be these change agents in this field, and to really look at inclusive innovation as something that they should be a part of, that they're leading. So we're very excited about that student ambassadorship. So I saw a question from Anaya, I believe, and I apologize if I misspelled your name. I mean, I misspoke your name. So for this first year, yes, the student ambassadors will be alumni of the program. Just because we have a cohort that we can go directly to. We'll be working with the faculty advisors who have been with this program to identify students who may be. We may revisit that for 2025 to see if we would like to bring on students who are not a part of this program, but because we are looking at them to serve in mentor roles and perhaps in roles of judging the pitch competition, it makes sense to have students who have been a part of this process before. So that is what we are doing for 2024 for our student ambassadorship. Any questions?
So Dr. Mitra had a question. I'd like to know a little about commercialization and marketing of the product. I'll let Neela chime in, but that is a big part of this second year.
The second year.
The second phase that we are at, we want to leverage our community of practice. We have a lot of expertise in that community of practice, like innovators working in the field in these areas. So we will leverage their expertise on really helping the students now hone these products to really move it to that next level of our R&D commercialization, marketing, whatever that entails, or those possibilities. So that's why we added that second phase, to really help now refine and move those innovations to the next level. So we are still shaping what that will look like, but we will definitely leverage the expertise of our advisory board and our community of practice.
That's exactly, to chime in, that's exactly it. It is not to expect the students to put their product to market in 1 year, but it is to be able to inform them of what that process looks like, and to be able to place people who are in those areas and can really answer the questions and support what that process looks like for them, to be able to put those people in front of our student teams. That's what that second phase is about. Additional questions? And I want to just really quickly, I want to, for Dr. Pearson. Dr. Pearson is from Alabama A&M, and he has a student. I think Datavian came directly to you to talk about this new that we were opening. But students like Datavian who came and specifically said, what role can I have moving forward? That's where this idea of student ambassadorships, and I love that we had students who advocated on their own to say, I want to continue on. I might not have the commitment to be able to be on the student team this year, but how can I continue to be a part of this community? And so Tay was very, um, he was someone who really reached out and said, are there opportunities for mentoring? Are there opportunities for judging? And I just thought it was fantastic that our students are really seeing how they can elevate their roles beyond what they did in their time as a cohort member from the previous classes. So Dr. Pearson, you have great students at Alabama A&M, and I love that they are really speaking up and want to continue and identify ways to continue with this program. All past cohorts, correct. Thank you, Iris. Dr. Whittington, all of our past cohorts from 2018 will be invited. We'll be speaking to you all. I mean, obviously there are students have graduated, probably are currently working now. So the idea are students who are still on campus who can play in that role. So it may be maybe students from this just most recent one, but we don't want to deny students who may still be on campus from back in 2018. So we will be opening it up for all.
I have a question about eligibility of students. So currently I have 5 and they are eligible based on their current student status. But in case someone graduate before September, they will lose eligibility.
So we currently have it for undergraduate and graduate students who have not graduated. So in this event, yes, they would lose eligibility. And so that's where that refining who the student team members are during that individual registration period, that is when that part comes in, where we have to identify that if this student is graduating, they would not be eligible. And for those who are wondering, we take students from undergraduate up to those who are seeking their PhD. What we found is even though you may have a group of all PhD students, our undergraduate students are equally capable. There's no, oh, there's an advantage because these students are graduate students versus undergraduate students. A lot of times the teams can be comprised of students from mixed, we have some undergraduate and graduate students mixed together, but there is no advantage that we have found. The students are equally qualified with this, whether they are undergraduate or graduate. But we do want to be very mindful that we want the projects to be the ideas of the students, not a continuation of work that a faculty member is working on. We want the idea to come directly from the students and what they identify as something that they are working on. And not just presenting their faculty advisors' work, if that makes sense.
And I also wanted to mention, sorry, Dr. Lassen, that we have been very thoughtful and intentional this year about reaching out to students who are not just STEM majors, right? Marketing majors, business majors, like just from other other departments, right? So we have been intentional about. We actually hired a temp to scour all 100 plus HBCUs and identify all the faculty. Not just STEM faculty, but business, marketing, entrepreneurship, innovation faculty, so that we have those contacts. We are working with the White House Initiative on HBCUs, our other partners, to really get the word out, because we really want to reach the diversity within the HBCUs, the smaller schools, the rural schools, the Philander Smiths, like those schools who don't have the resources like an A&T or a Howard, right? So we are really trying to reach those smaller rural private schools that just really don't have the resources. So you all can help us with that as well. Sorry, Dr. Latson.
Sorry, I'm sorry. But I just wanted to talk about one more opportunity to broaden your impact from the making and showcase.
Yes.
From the moment that it was done, I believe we were part of the first cohort when Dr. Brown was involved.
Yeah.
And but from that, Dr. Gibson and I from Hampton have done several partnerships and collaborations from our meeting at the showcase, Innovation and
Wow.
Showcase. So I'd be happy to share some of that. We were able to present at Tapia. We were able to
Wow.
present at a conference in Las Vegas about this, what we called a cross-pollination of STEM, because we were able to bridge we actually bridged curriculum from being introduced to each other at the showcase. So
That's
faculty has an impact too. So there's an opportunity for participating faculty who have been involved in the showcase in previous years to talk about how we've developed other avenues that have come out of this particular event that has benefited students. And I think we weren't able to do it last fall, but for 3 years following, we've combined her environmental science students with my technology students to do similar activities in both our universities. So it has a broader impact than other just students. Faculty have actually been able to walk away with some really great things and do some conference presentations and research around what we built from your showcase. So
Please share that with us, because we have to write our, end of grant.
that's what I thought. Yeah.
We want to capture all of that, and we just don't know about it. If you don't share it with us, we don't know about it, even though we asked for it in the survey. So please send that to us so we can capture and highlight that. And I also mentioned we have, a LinkedIn page and a Twitter page. If you all, especially if you participate in the past, share what you are doing on those outlets so we can document it there, as well on our LinkedIn page and our Twitter page. So share what you all are doing. Like we really want to amplify that. But yeah, definitely send that to us so we can capture that.
Okay, I will send the reference, the citations for the conferences, and I will send the citations for the things that we've done in our classrooms.
And just a high level couple of paragraphs to summarize it all, and we will definitely include that. Thank you for sharing.
That is invaluable. I think that is really, kind of what, beyond the students learning about invention, innovation, beyond them developing and designing these prototypes, this community of practice is really speaking to how we all can support each other, how we can continue to be supportive of an inclusive innovation ecosystem, and how HBCUs can support each other. And I think that, Dr. Latson, what you shared is fantastic. And I think this should be shared even, during our orientation, so that any new faculty and existing faculty who have been a part of it look at this opportunity, not just for the students to come to DC, or not for them just to design, but really what relationships can come from this? How can we leverage each other's curriculum, what we're working on, to support one another? So I do thank you so much for sharing that. That was very I got like goosebumps hearing you say that,
Well,
because it is
I would definitely put it in an email to you guys and let you
Thank you.
know. I'll definitely send you the references, but then I will do a small write-up of that collaboration and how it all started.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much. Any other questions? We are very excited about being able to share this opportunity with you all. We were thrilled to receive funding and to see that it was increased, to know that this opportunity can go beyond just supporting, 10 teams at max, but to be able to see 20 teams and to have a larger group of students come and learn from each other. And for faculty to be able to learn from each other is something that we are truly looking forward to. I know that Dr. Collins from North Carolina A&T, who is one of our advisory members, is on. I wanted to just give you a moment if you had anything that you wanted to share, say. You've been a part of this since its inception pretty much as well. So I just wanted to
Well,
give you an opportunity to
I
speak.
want to chime in, say I'm a huge fan. I want to congratulate each of you who thought, hey, this is something I should spend an hour learning about, because I totally agree. If you are a student, I'm going to advocate for you to talk with your peers and gather a team together and really think outside the box. Those goals for the UN strategic something or other, whatever, I'm not good at that, are broadly written because there's a lot of different ways to bring innovation to bear on that problem solving. So please do get together and brainstorm and think about that. And for faculty who are thinking about advising teams, enjoy the opportunity to have that conversation and to cheer on students who are, like I said, bringing to bear their creative thought processes and thinking about problem solving around this. The gathering that we have in September, we've already talked about how there's connectivity that can be made amongst the faculty, but it's also great for students. I love looking back at the pictures and seeing some of the problem solving and mixing up of the groups where, okay, we have this challenge. How are we going to solve this challenge? And students from different universities gather together. I will put in a plug. I think it was just this past year, I was able to meet Derek Brent of the US Patent and Trademark Office, who took time from being the associate director there to come and speak with the students. And that was awesome. I'm going to embarrass myself and not remember the past speakers, but the advantage of having it in DC, or there are these power players who were there and they just have to like cross the street and come over to speak with the students, and they are more than willing to do so. I have been really impressed by the quality of folks who've come in, and I've always enjoyed that. So kudos to you all for having such a robust network and getting time on these folks' calendars to come and speak with the students.
Thanks for mentioning that, Laura. And we have to be thinking about that now. How to top that. We've had the director of the USPTO twice, 2 or 3 times, Chike Agu, the director of entrepreneurship, who's from an HBCU, from the Department of Labor. So, we try to bring high-level speakers who can engage with these students and give them amazing opportunities to interact with directors of agencies, right? So thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, I'm just going to promote that our next webinar will be the orientation that will be held in April. Soon after that, we will start our bi-monthly e-mentoring and our professional development series for students and faculty. Please follow us on social media. Right now, we are currently on just X, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I hope that with these student ambassadors, perhaps we can gain traction and perhaps open an IG page where they can do some content for us on there. The slides and recording will be posted on our Making an Innovation site listed here, but we will be sharing this with all of our registered attendees. And once again, thank you all for your interest, for your support, for continuing to come back and be a part of this program. We are working very hard, not only within this community of practice, but even within our organization to continue this work for our HBCU students and faculty, and making sure that we're setting the bar, that we have the talent at our HBCUs, and we want to highlight and elevate and make sure that it's being shared across high STEM level organizations and federal agencies here in DC. So thank you again for continuing this work. Iris, do you want to close?
I just had one more thing to mention, that we are in discussions with a team from PBS. They are focused on diversifying STEM online content, and so we want to bring them in to maybe do some PD session, maybe help the students really hone their videos or STEM content so that it can live longer or beyond this project. So we are thinking about really amplifying this work to the broader community so that these students actually have a media product. So maybe converting your pitch video. We haven't sorted it all out, but we are in discussions with them to try to help them with their goal of diversifying STEM online content. So if you have ideas about how we can leverage that relationship or those discussions on the front end, definitely let us know.
All right, well, we are able to get 24 minutes back in our day, and I know we all are extremely busy. So again, thank you all for joining us. To all of our past faculty advisors, thank you again for joining, and we do hope that you all have teams. For any new folks who are joining us, we hope to see some great ideas coming from yourself if you're a student, or if you're a faculty advisor, from your student team. So thank you all, and I will end this. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great rest of your afternoon.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Yeah, everybody.